Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. If you happen to be new here, my name is Jess. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, today I wanted to talk to you all about all of the books I have read so far in September and also the books that I am currently reading, plans that I have for the month, how I've been feeling, that kind of stuff, as well as I wanted to include shows that I've been watching, or in this case, one show that I've been watching that I absolutely love that I think a lot of you guys would really like. But I did just want to sit down, have more of a chill video, just kind of check in with you guys on how my month is going. Leave down below how your month is going as well. I've been really interested in how people's reading have been because I've just seen so much, I don't know, like negativity recently about other people's readings. Like people are really struggling, and I feel like I have recently been struggling as well. So leave down below how you're doing, if you're enjoying what you're reading, if you're feeling stressed out about what you're reading. I would love to know. But I'm going to go ahead and get started and talk to you guys about the books that I have read so far this month. The first book that I actually finished that I am so in love with, I did a full review for it, you guys can find it on my channel, would be Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Eames. This does follow an older group of gentlemen led by Clay, and they are in search of the daughter of one of the other men in the group. And the really nice thing about this, I'm not going to go into too in-depth, I'll leave the review in the cards up above, but the thing that I really liked about this was actually the relationship. I realized more so recently that I love a boy's tale, or in this case, a man's tale. I love a group of guys just getting together and going on journeys or having these experiences together. The thing that I really liked about this book, aside from that, is the humor. This book is so funny. If you want a really funny book and you're looking for something more along like the fantasy lines that's also really funny, I think you guys would really like this. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I'll leave the Goodreads review down below, but you can just find it on my Goodreads if you're looking for it. And then, like I said, I will also link the review in the cards up above if you guys are interested in that as well. The next book I finished, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere, you will already know about, but it's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I once again gave this 5 stars because this is still my favorite of the entire series. There are a few things that I noticed reading it this time that I was a little bit more confused about that I think I didn't pick up on as a child. One of which would be, why in God's name do they let Lockhart be a teacher at all? I understand that Hogwarts was desperate, but I feel like there are so many good witches and wizards that could have become the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, so I didn't understand why Lockhart was involved at all. Also, once again, the ending was incredibly rushed, and I'm excited to see, because I don't really remember if the endings are a little bit slower later on in the series, because obviously this is written for a younger generation, but I don't like the endings in these books. I feel like they are incredibly rushed, and I feel like the rest of the books are really rich and like well paced, and when that happens, I'm kind of bothered by it, but it's still my favorite. I still love the characters. I still love the storyline. I think overall it is a really great read. Like I said, if you want the review, that is also on my Goodreads. Now, the next book I finished, I wasn't a huge fan of. I think I gave it 3 stars. Now, the first volume of this, I actually gave 5 stars because I loved it that much. But the Orange, the Complete Collection, Volume 2, I ended up giving this 3 stars, like I said, because it was, I don't know, the miscommunication and people were like dragging their feet in the second volume, and it really bugged me. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. If you guys saw the tropes that I hate, or like things that I hate in writing, miscommunication is my least favorite. I wish people would just open their mouths and speak. You guys have heard me reference that in other books like The Red Queen. I don't like that Mare doesn't really communicate very well. I just hate miscommunication. It is something that I am not a fan of whatsoever. Of course, the sun's going in and out. I'm really sorry the sun goes in and out of this video. It is storming here in Columbus today, so the rain is kind of setting all my light off. But I just didn't really like this book. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars because the story is adorable and I really love the characters, but I just did not like the miscommunication. If I was sent back to save one of my friends, I would not pussyfoot around. I would literally just be like, I know what happens. Please let me help you. I love you. Like, I just wouldn't waste any time, and that really genuinely bugged me about this one. And the last book that I read, I really, really loved. There's a full review going, well, there is a review on my Goodreads, but there's actually going to be a video review for it this week, and that'd be City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I don't know what I was expecting going into this book. I don't even think that I had a really good grasp on what it is about, but it does follow our main character, Cassidy, and her parents are ghost hunters, or they would like to be ghost hunters, and they take her to Edinburgh, and they are hunting ghosts with her there, and she is able to kind of cross the veil because there was an accident when she was younger, and she did actually die and was saved by this boy named Jacob before she could die fully. So she is able to cross over the veil and is able to visit that. And this book was not what I was expecting it to be. You guys will see the full review for that going up later this week, but I just wanted to touch base and say that I think this book is wonderful. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Despite being a middle grade book, I felt like it had a lot of depth. I felt like the characters were really fleshed out. I liked Cassidy as well. I liked Jacob as her best friend Ghost. I really liked her parents, her relationship with her parents. The setting was really lush. The bad girl, bad guy in the book was also really wonderful. I thought that it added a lot of depth to the story. But it is still a middle grade book if you're not really in the mood for a middle grade book. I don't know if you really like this, but I think this is a book that everyone should give a shot no matter the age that they are. Also, if you have younger kids that are in middle school or even younger than that, I think that they'll really like this as well. Alright, now I'm going to get into the books that I'm currently reading. There's going to be a video going up later this week on books that I want to read by Stephen King that I haven't read, so this may change within the next couple of days because I'm probably going to add a few books to that. But books that I am currently reading, I'm 108 pages into The Extinction Trials. If you follow my reading vlogs at all, you'll know that I'm having a lot of trouble with this book. I think that it is because of the age range with who it is written for. It is a teen book, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a lot more of tell more than show kind of instances in this book, and I feel like the writing is really plain, and I do struggle with that. I also was struggling with connecting with the characters, but the further along I get, I definitely am connecting with them a little bit more and appreciating them a little bit more, and I think the storyline is really interesting. It's about a society of people who are separated in two islands. One island is primarily dinosaurs that are able to kill them. They are ruthless hunters, and the other island is obviously humanity, and they are running out of food and resources, and they discover how to affect human DNA, and they think that they can affect dinosaur DNA and actually kill them off so they're able to inhabit that other island that they're not able to inhabit right now. And our main character, Stormchaser, actually has a soft spot on her heart for dinosaurs, and they join something called the Trials. Her and her friend Dell join something called the Trials, which is a group of people who are sent to that island possibly to kind of wipe out the dinosaurs now that they know what to do with DNA. So I think the story is really cool. I'm only 108 pages in. I think there's a little over 300, so I'm excited to see what the rest of the story brings. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it in the beginning. I think right now it's sitting at about a 3-star rating, so we'll see how that goes by the end of the month. And the other book that I'm reading won't come as any shock to anybody. I am 270 pages into this currently, and that'd be Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I wish I would have read this like a little bit sooner than I am now, like the second I bought it. It is so wonderful, and I cannot wait for the second book. And I would definitely say that there's trigger warnings for suicide and people like cutting themselves and murder and things like that. It's definitely morally gray, but a little bit darker than just morally gray. I wouldn't say they're villains per se, but I would definitely say that they are morally gray, teetering on villain. There's a lot of things in this book that I was not prepared for, especially the suicide portion of this. They do, obviously, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story, but Victor and Eli set out to study extraordinary people who have abilities following near-death experiences, and they actually decide to kill themselves over and over again in the attempt to give themselves an extraordinary ability, and that is what the story follows. So that was not what I was expecting, and I definitely wasn't prepared for it, so I wanted to just give people a trigger warning if you just suffer from suicidal thoughts or tendencies, if you've suffered from it in the past, if you know somebody who has and that's really triggering to you, I would avoid this book. It's pretty heavily on that. But otherwise, I do really like it. I think the characters are really interesting. I think especially because they have these abilities and because they are so dark and deep, and I really love Sydney. I would say she is one of my very, very favorites, as well as Mitch. But overall, I really don't like Eli. I don't think that he's that great of a character. I don't like the I'm sent from God to rid the world of these kind of people. I don't like that storyline. I've never really liked that storyline. But I do really appreciate Victor, and I do like their contrast. So far I'm really liking it, and I'm loving what you guys are saying about it in our Goodreads group. If you want to join down below, that is listed, and you guys can kind of talk about the book there. I have only finished the first part and about half of the second, but I am almost done, so I'm excited to see overall what people thought about it and discuss it with you guys at the end of the month. But right now it is sitting at about a 4.5-star rating for me. So depending on how the book ends, but I have heard the book ends in a really awesome way, I think it might be a 5-star or at least a 4-star read for me. Alright, so that is how I've been doing reading-wise, and I would say overall of everything that I read, City of Ghosts was definitely the highlight. I just wasn't expecting it. I think everything I read so far this month I really enjoyed except for Orange Volume 2, but I think because City of Ghosts was such a surprise for me, I didn't think that I was going to like it. I didn't know a whole lot about it. It is a middle grade book. I would say that is my favorite read of the month so far, but obviously I love Kings of the Wild. If you guys saw my review for that, it's on my top books that I read in 2018, and then obviously Chamber of Secrets I really enjoy. My reading has been pretty solid. I've been reading and really enjoying what I'm reading, other than The Extinction Trials when I first started reading that. So I think I'm having a really good reading month, but I feel like a lot of people are suffering a lot recently, and I think it is because of the change in season. Summer is kind of leaving us, and a lot of people I think do suffer from not getting enough sunlight and such, you know what I mean? Like, because the seasons are changing, even I personally feel that. I've definitely felt like that over the last week. So other than that, I think I'm feeling really good the last week. I think that, or even the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling really, really great. I've been loving doing Booktember, but what I've been doing mostly to kind of keep my mind occupied, like whether it's when I'm working or when I'm reading, I always have a show on in the background. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that today because it's just a show that I have seen the first 2 seasons of before, but I'm actually sitting down to watch the rest of it because all 5 seasons are finally on Netflix, and that would be Haven. Haven is actually based on a book called The Colorado Kid by Stephen King, and I completely forgot this book existed. I don't own it, but it is essentially about a man who escapes from prison and runs to a small Maine town called Haven. Obviously, this does take place in Maine, which is actually really good for the setting of the show as well. I think it adds like a really nice atmosphere to it. But essentially, this man runs away, and this detective follows him there, and the man is killed, and he's killed under very weird circumstances. And that's kind of where the book leaves off from the show, or where the show kind of deviates from the book itself. Essentially, what the show follows is our main character and the 2 gentlemen that help her. It follows them, and there are things that just happen in Haven. There are people who are able to control the weather, or they affect the weather when they get really upset. There's a man whose shadow actually starts killing people. There is a man who sends cracks in the earth when he gets really upset. There's just a lot of really cool things that happen, and I just love the show. I think the characters are really interesting. I think the storyline is really interesting. But my favorite thing that I would have to say about the show is how many little Stephen King references there are. Now, if you've read Stephen King for any amount of time, or you read him at all, you will know that he kind of references other books in books that you are currently reading. So there's often references to The Dark Tower and things like that. There's just a lot of references. He writes himself into the book, those kinds of things. And I really enjoy that about the show. At one point in time last night when I was watching, there was an edition of Tommyknockers just hanging around, which is one of my very, very favorite Stephen King books. So I was really excited to see that. Later on in the show, there was actually a boy who was building a little boat out of newspaper, and it, goes down the water into a grate, and you just obviously know that that is referencing it. There's just so many references, and I think that it's really enjoyable. If you like supernatural shows, I think that you'd really like that. It's just very interesting and a very interesting take on the book, I think, because I believe the original book was more a mystery thriller kind of book, and obviously this is more supernatural along the lines of Stephen King that I think we all know and love. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. That is how my month has been going reading-wise. I hope you guys are having a really good reading month. Like I said, leave down below how you've been feeling. I would love to talk to you guys about it because I've had so many people message me saying that they're just having a bad month, and I think that it is something that's kind of going around right now in our community. So if you want to talk about it, leave it down below, or as always, you can get a hold of me. Most likely on Instagram is where I respond to the most. I've been kind of avoiding Twitter because Twitter has just been crazy recently. I think that there's just a lot of negativity going around there, and I think it's a lot more in your face on Twitter, so I try to avoid Twitter as much as possible when I'm feeling like this. I feel like a lot of people can probably agree with that, but let me know down below how you're feeling. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!